Brock Purdy honestly has to be one of the nicest quarterbacks I've ever seen. After being pressured 19 times against the Rams, he decided to get his entire offensive line Toyotas. How did they repay him? Giving up 16 pressures against the Dolphins. That's why I find it so funny when people bring up the fact that Brock Purdy has really fallen off this year. He really has been playing essentially the same as previous seasons, if not a little bit better because he's mixed in his legs, but the reason you think it's so much worse is because of the poor performance of this offensive line. So like the ghost of Christmas past, in this video I hope to open up your eyes a little bit to how Brock Purdy isn't the real issue with this offense, but more so it's the offensive line. Starting out, we're going to be looking at their standout rookie Dominick Puni. Throughout this year I've been a real fan of his, but in this game he was a letdown. What really concerns me is how he just looks like a completely different player than to start the year. I don't know what Forrester is teaching this offensive line this year, but it's not working. On this play specifically, I want to focus on all the little things Puni is doing wrong. First, he's supposed to punch this defensive tackle before he gets inside his chest to really eliminate his pass rush move, but he's late to punch him, he gets inside his chest, hand swipes him, and then his head goes immediately down. I don't care who you are, if you're coming at a defensive lineman at the NFL level with this technique, every single time will be a failure. Luckily for Puni though, he has St. Nick back there playing quarterback, because rather than getting sacked on this play, Purdy decided to give Puni another gift, evading the sack somehow, I really don't even know how on this play, and picked up a couple for his offense. To go along with that, Puni did struggle with the bull rush in this game, but I'm still pretty optimistic about his future because he should add strength this offseason, and he's been playing lights out throughout this year in my opinion. Regardless of how bright-eyed and bushy-tailed I am though, I can't find optimism for the rest of this offensive line. Frankly, it was just terrible in this game. Most notably, I think this year has solidified my belief that Colton McKivitz isn't a starting tackle in the NFL, at least not for the long run for San Francisco if they hope to have success. On this play, for instance, he is attempting to down block 90, but he just gets manhandled, thrown off of him with one hand, and Purdy is put under pressure. Luckily for McKivitz, Purdy is able to step up and complete this pass. McKivitz even struggles when the defensive lineman is just trying to use his speed to get by him. On this play, for instance, you can see how he hits the outside edge of McKivitz and puts pressure on Purdy pretty quickly on this play. Much like Puni, I do think a lot of this is a technique thing for McKivitz because on this play, I really want to focus on his base. Watch how narrow it is with this defensive lineman attempting to shoot the outside shoulder. This leaves him susceptible to this double move with him coming back on the swim. Regardless of how poor his blocking is on this play though, Purdy still turns this would-be sack into a positive play. Outside of Colton McKivitz, I thought San Francisco's interior of their offensive line struggled throughout this game handling stunts. On this play specifically, it appears Jake Brendel needs to pass off his man to Zakelj. They don't do a good job of communicating, and that leads to an interception. To further highlight this point, on this play, Jake Brendel once again follows 92 to the outside rather than passing him off to Puni, and you can see how that leaves him susceptible to 44 coming over the top, and he's untouched. Purdy once again tries to spin out of this, but ultimately he is taken down. Things don't get much better when you look at San Francisco's left side of the offensive line, as Jalen Moore and Aaron Banks are out for the remainder of the season with injuries. So going forward into this offseason, I think if San Francisco hopes to reestablish themselves as a playoff team, they need to address the weakness of their offensive line. It's been a weakness for years, but now it's becoming more glaring than before. And Purdy giving this offensive line Toyotas didn't help, so I don't know how you motivate them. I think the only way is with competition, but ultimately these are just my thoughts, and I'd like to hear your thoughts down below.